Croeso pawb to the big games, big deals and games under £20 PSN sales. As usual, I've gone through the sale for you and I found some really cool games that are on a really huge discount, so you can play some really cool games and save a lot of money along the way. So if you like the sound of that, don't forget to subscribe. You're welcome here anytime. Okay, this sale ends on the 9th of October, so that'll be your last day to pick up these deals. Let's look at the games. First up, we have Batman Arkham Collection. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, although the games are older than that really, and it's on an 88% discount for the low price of £5.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a fantastic deal for 3 AAA full games, as this collection includes the 3 Batman games of Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, including all of the DLC, and 1 and 2 are remasters of the original games as well, so you're getting the best versions of the games, with all of the content included, which is great. You can't ask for anything else. In these third-person action games, you get to play as the Dark Knight, fighting a host of classic villains across 3 full games, set in Arkham Asylum and Gotham City. It features a ton of Batman gadgets and vehicles with an awesome combat system, and a great story as well. So you really get to live out all of your Batman fantasies in these really amazing games. Now when the first one came out, it was a huge success, and it's been a great series ever since. The more recent ones may have gone downhill compared to the originals, but the original trilogy is still a really good game series, and this includes all 3 of them, with everything included, so you're getting the complete experience. So if you're a fan of superhero games, or just action games in general, or you're a really big fan of Batman or DC, then you should definitely take a look at these. If you love Batman, this series will be a real treat for you, and it's at such a low price, it's a great deal. You can't go far wrong with it. And hey, if you've never played a third-person action game before, then I'm not sure I'd recommend starting here. It's a really good deal, but you're getting a lot of game for your money, so if you don't like them, you're stuck with 3 games that you'll never play. But hey, it's such a good deal, you can't really complain about it much. So if you're interested in a third-person action series, then why not check this out? It's one of the best ones around, and it's really great. Pretty much the only reason I wouldn't recommend it is if you don't like Batman or superheroes. Otherwise, you can't go far wrong with this series. Why not take a look at it? We have a kids game next, Beast Quest. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on a 95% discount for the low price of 79p, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a great deal for a cool little indie game. In this RPG adventure, which is based on the best-selling books, you journey to save the kingdom of Avantia from ruin by releasing epic beasts from the control of the dark wizard Marvel. It features big boss battles, varied environments, and hundreds of side quests to play as well. Now this may not be a big AAA game, and a lot of people may not recommend it that much, but if you've got a kid that likes RPGs, or you just like simple games, you might really enjoy this, and it's really cheap as well. Just don't expect big complicated AAA quality, because that's not what this is. But if you're interested, definitely check it out. At this price, it may be worth a look. And hey, if you've never played an RPG adventure before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here, unless you're really young, or you like simple games, then it's a good place to start. Otherwise though, you're probably better off starting with one of the AAA ones, or the bigger franchises instead. Although at this price, it's worth the money, so there's no real risk. If you like the look of it, why not check it out? We have a little puzzle game next, Degrees of Separation. It was released in 2019, so it's 5 years old, and it's on a 95% discount for the low price of 79p, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a fantastic deal for a really cool looking puzzle game. In this puzzle platformer, you get to play as Ember and Rhyme, who use their powers of fire and ice to manipulate the environment, and combine them together to create wind, explosions, and more to solve puzzles along the way. It features a story written by Chris Avallone, and 2-player co-op as well, making it a great game to play with a friend, or a partner, or a kid. It's a really cool little co-op puzzle game, that's for sure. Now I'm a big fan of puzzle games in general, and this looks like a really cool and interesting puzzle platformer. You don't see co-op ones very often, and this looks really good. Plus it got some really good reviews as well, so it seems like most people agree. It's a really good game, and at this price, it's a really good deal. So if you like puzzle platformers, why not take a look at this? At this price, it's really good value. And hey, if you've never played a puzzle platformer before, then you could definitely start here. It's a really good quality one at a really low price. You can't ask for much more really. If you like the look of it, why not check it out? You can't go far wrong. We have an old school classic next, Fahrenheit. It was released in 2016, so it's 8 years old, although the game's much older than that really, like really old. And it's on a 75% discount for the low price of £2.74, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal. In this interactive story, made by the creators of Detroit Become Human and Heavy Rain, comes this paranormal thriller, set in New York as mysterious murders where people become possessed and kill random strangers are taking place all over the city. It's up to you to investigate and get to the bottom of what's really going on. Now, this game is pretty legendary. Back when it came out, it was pretty revolutionary with the way it told a story and the twists and turns. It made a lot of waves and people really liked it. Now looking back on it, it's a bit of a weird game, but it's historically important and it's not terrible. So if you like story-driven games, especially ones where there's conspiracies, or they go a bit weird or twisty-turny, you'll probably really enjoy this. So if you've heard about this game before and you've always wondered what it's like, or you just like older games, or really good story games, then why not take a look at this? It's definitely different, and at least you can say you've played it afterwards. And hey, if you've never played an interactive story before, then I'm not sure I'd recommend starting here. It's older at this point, so it's a bit clunkier to play the modern ones. But hey, if you're okay with older games, then this is a pretty good deal. So if you want something a bit historic to play, and you don't mind it being older, then you might want to take a look at this. It's very different, but there's a reason why it's historically important. So why not take a look at it if it's piqued your interest? Up next is my star by In Sound Mind. It was released in 2021, so it's 3 years old, and it's on a 95% discount for the low price of £1.49, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a fantastic deal for a game that's so well thought of, and highly reviewed. Now this game is for PS5 only, so if you don't have a PS5, you can't pick it up. In this horror game, you get to experience first-person psychological horror, filled with puzzles and unique boss fights, as you awaken inside your own mind, and traverse a series of unsettling memories. It features a soundtrack by the iconic Living Tombstone, and it's really highly reviewed. People that play it say it's very different, very unique, which is good because this genre is full of games. There's so many horror games around that it's nice to see one where people have played it, and not only do they like it, but they say it's very different and unique. It's hard to stand out in this genre, and if you're a game doing that, then you must be worth playing. So if you're a big fan of horror, especially psychological horror, then why not take a look at this? It looks like a diamond in the rough, and I think you'll really enjoy it if you're a fan of this genre. Like I said, it's my star buy. It's well worth your time and money, I promise. And hey, if you've never played a horror game before, then I would recommend starting here. It's really modern, it's really cheap, and it's really well reviewed and highly recommended. If you're into horror, why not check this out? You should definitely take a look at this, because it's a really good deal. Our next game is Life is Strange 2 Completed Season. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the low price of £5.19, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal, as this version includes the complete 5-episode story, with all of the chapters included, which is really great. In this story-driven third-person adventure, the brothers Sean and Daniel are on the run from the police after a shooting incident where one of them discovers he has telekinetic powers. Can you make it safely to Mexico while concealing your abilities? Only your decisions will decide. It features branching story with multiple decisions and endings, so whenever you play it, you'll get a bit of a different story and even a different ending as well. So multiple playthroughs will get you different experience, which is really cool. Now I really like this game series. The first series especially was really good. I played that and I absolutely loved it. Now, I think the concept in the sequels are not as good as the first one, so it doesn't quite live up to it. But hey, they're really good story-driven adventures, and if you're a fan of Telltale sort of games where there's a lot of story and choices with different outcomes and branching story arcs, then you'll really enjoy this. They're basically the only other company doing good versions of this, and they've got a track record now. They've done 3 of this series, and they're all really well liked. And best of all, they're not linked with each other, so if you haven't played the other ones, it doesn't matter. It doesn't reference anything, and you can enjoy it on its own. So if you like story-driven adventure games, why not check this out? It's really great. And hey, if you've never played a story-driven adventure before, then you could start here. There are better ones around, and Telltale have a lot of themed ones which you might prefer, but hey, this isn't a bad one. So if you've played the other ones, or you like the look of this one, why not check it out? It's a really decent game at a really good price. We have an old school remake next, Oddworld Soulstorm Enhanced Edition. It was released in 2021, so it's 3 years old, although the original is much older than that really, and it's on a 75% discount for the price of £8.74, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a pretty good deal, as this edition includes an exclusive game mode named Toby's Escape as well, which is great. In this action platformer, your enslaved race needs a leader, someone who must fight to free your fellow Mudokons, and fight back against the profiteers who enslaved your race. With the ending changing depending on how many you save, the stakes are real in this game, and there are multiple endings that reflect that, which is pretty cool. They didn't have to put that much effort in, but it's good that they did. Now, the original Abe's Odyssey games were on PS1, and they were legendary. They were launch games, and they were really famous back in the day. And for good reason, they were really good quality and really good games. Now, the modern ones are remakes, so if you like the originals, then they've changed a lot, and it's not like they've just zhuzhed up the levels or something. They've completely remade them, so they're like new games really. They're just very based on the originals, story-wise. So if you're a fan of Abe's Odyssey from the PS1 days, or you just like action platformers, you should check this out. They're really good games, and because they're based on legendary ones from back in the day, they're really good. So if you like the sound of this as much as I do, then definitely take a look at them. They're from the past, but they're really good remakes. Definitely check them out if you like the sound of them. And hey, if you've never played an action platformer before, then I'm not sure I'd recommend starting here. You can get other ones cheaper, and even big AAA ones cheaper, or at the same price as this as well. So you're probably better off starting with one of them instead. But hey, if you're a big fan of Abe's Odyssey, or the first remake, then definitely check this out. It's a good game. Pankapu is our next game. It was released in 2017, so it's 7 years old, and it's on at least an 80% discount for the low price of £1.89 or £1.41 with PS Plus, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it for PS Plus users, although it's also not been on sale near this price for 3 years. So if you've been waiting for this game, now's probably your chance. In this action platformer, which is set in the dreams of a troubled child, you enter to fight the nightmares by completing levels and beating bosses. It features upgradable skills and RPG elements as well. These days there's quite a lot of action platformers around, but a lot of them are really good quality as well, and this is one of them. It's got really good reviews, it's really decent quality, and it's at a really low price as well. So if you grew up on old school action platformers, or you just like the modern ones, and like the genre in general, then you should take a look at this game. It may not be a huge AAA game, but it's got a lot of heart to it, and it's pretty decent for the price. So if you like decent little indie games, why not take a look at this one? It looks like a lot of fun, especially if you like this genre. And hey, if you've never played an action platformer before, then you could start here. It may not be one of the biggest games around, or a AAA game, but hey, it's really cheap, and it's a good game. So you're not risking a lot of money, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. If you're interested in this genre, then why not take a look? We have some survival horror next. Raccoon City Edition. Now this game used to be called Resident Evil 3 Raccoon City Edition, now it's just called Raccoon City Edition. I'm assuming that's because people were confused, because the title made it sound like it was just the third game when it's a bundle of the second and third game, so that's probably why they changed the name. Anyway, if you're confused, that's probably why. It was released in 2020, so it's 4 years old, although the original game is based on is much older than that really, and is on a 75% discount for the price of £12.49, which is really great, as this edition includes the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, along with the Resistance Online mode, and you get both the PS4 and PS5 versions included as well. Apart from the Resistance Online multiplayer, that's only on one platform, but who cares, no one's buying this bundle for that anyway. In these survival horrors, in the second game you play as Leon and Claire, separated in Raccoon City during a zombie outbreak, where you must survive separately and help each other out along the way to survive, while in the third game you play as Jill Valentine as she attempts to escape Raccoon City. And Resistance provides a 4 vs 1 asymmetrical multiplayer experience, although that wasn't reviewed well on release and I bet it's dead by now, so no one really cares about that, and don't worry about it too much, you're probably not going to play it anyway. Now, the original Resident Evil games are legendary. They're one of the biggest horror franchises around, and probably the most famous and influential survival horror game ever made. So hey, no pressure for the remakes. Now, I have to say, I grew up with these as a kid, and I seen my best mate complete them a lot, and there's a real soft spot in me for them. I'm not a fan of horror games, but I've got a lot of memories linked to these. Now, I will say the second game looks like a really good remake. I've seen a lot of playthroughs of it, and I really like the look of it. It was massively well reviewed, everybody loved it, hands down recommended for that one. But with the third one, it got a bit weird. They removed some sections of the game and some enemies, which is confusing because they did such a good job with the second game that I don't understand why they made such big changes in the third game. I didn't play them a lot, but it annoyed me. So in my head, I'm like, if it annoyed me that they removed the clock tower area and messed with some other bits in the game, that I'm like, if it annoyed me, proper fans of this series will get really annoyed by that. So hey, if you're one of them and me mentioning that annoys you, then you might not want to play the third one, although the second one I'd still recommend. But hey, in general, if you like survival horror games, these are based on legendary games, and they're really good remakes. Like I said, big fans of the series might not like some of the changes, but hey, they're still really good games, so if that doesn't bother you, or you don't have any attachment to the originals, then you're not going to mind, you're just going to play two really cool games. So if you like the sound of that, definitely check this bundle out. They're really great games. And hey, if you've never played a survival horror game before, then you could start here. It's a bit pricey, but you are getting two modern, really good games from a legendary series, so it's worth the money if you're interested, and you know you're starting off with really good games. So if you like the sound of that, why not check it out? I think you'll have a lot of fun if you're interested in them. Up next is Roki. It was released in 2022, so it's 2 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the price of £3.19, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really good deal for a really cool looking indie game. In this puzzle adventure, you get to play as Tove on a journey to save her family as she explores an ancient wilderness full of mythical monsters and long-forgotten Scandinavian folklore, while solving riddles and mysteries along the way to uncover long-forgotten magical items that'll help you on your journey. Now, it's not very often I see a game with this many awards. It didn't win a lot, but it got nominated a ton. It got nominated for BAFTAs, it won other awards, it's got a massive amount of high ratings. Reviewers love this game. Everyone that reviewed it or played it seems to absolutely love it, hailing it as one of the best adventure games they've played in forever. And that's really impressive because it's an indie game, so for them to make this big of a wave is really impressive. So if you like this sort of genre, with puzzles and adventures, then why not take a look at this? Everybody seems to love it, the art style seems cool, and it looks like a really amazing game by a really cool little indie developer. They deserve the success they've earned, but I'm sure more people need to hear about this game, because I've never heard of it, and it seems like a really cool game that I would enjoy as well. I mean, you know how much I like puzzles. This little puzzle adventure looks really cool. So if you're as interested as I am, why not take a look? I think anyone that gives this game a try will absolutely love it. And hey, if you've never played a puzzle adventure before, then why not check this game out? It's very different and unique, and it's got such good reviews that I'm sure anyone that plays it will probably enjoy themselves. But hey, there's a lot of games in this genre, and you can pick up other big AAA ones that are about the same price or even lower sometimes, so you've got a lot of games to choose from, and others might be better for you. So, if you're really interested in this game, check it out, but if not, don't worry, you've got plenty of other games in this genre to choose from instead. We have an FPS next, Strange Brigade Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on a 95% discount for the low price of £3.24, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it for non-PS Plus members, which is really cool, as this edition includes the Season Pass, with the new campaign content, playable characters, weapons, items, and amulets as well. So again, the complete version of the game, with everything included, which is awesome. In this first-person shooter, Setaki the Witch has risen again, and now you as the Strange Brigade must stop her while exploring ruins, solving puzzles, avoiding traps, fighting the undead, and finding treasure along the way as well. It features 4-player online multiplayer, and the game's built around this. Think like Left 4 Dead, but in like 1930s tomb raiding sort of theming. Think like Brendan Fraser the Mummy crossed with Indiana Jones, and you'll get the idea, which is as cool as it sounds. If you've got a group of friends you play games with regularly, or you like playing games at a party or with your family or partner, then you'll probably have a lot of fun with this. It's probably not great without a group of friends, but hey, if you're looking for a cool multiplayer game, then definitely check this out. It looks like a really cool game with a ton of content included for a really good price, so you can't ask for much more than that really. And hey, if you've never played a first-person shooter before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here. It's a multiplayer-focused game, so without a group of friends, you're not going to have a lot of fun. And you can get much bigger, more legendary AAA ones as well, for about the same price or lower, especially if you go to the older games as well. All in all, this genre might be the most prolific around, so you've got tons to choose from, with a load of different themes and everything. So either way, there'll be something for you, but it may not be this game. So take a look around if you're not interested in this one. And don't worry, I'll let you know when there's more on sale as well. And the final game I have for you is Zone of the Enders, Second Runner Mars. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the price of £4.99, which is a really great deal, as this version is enhanced in 4K with VR support for the whole game as well. Not just a mode, it's completely converted for VR as well, which is great. This third-person action game is set in 2174, where the Bahram military organization is utilizing a new mech technology to control the galaxy. But when you take Jehuti, one of the 2 most powerful mechs ever constructed from the moon, you become the last hope for the galaxy as you fight back against them with their own weaponry. Now, this game's from a series of Zone of the Enders games. It's the second one, and there was only 2 made, although there were some little mobile games as well, but I don't really count them in the main series. And there was some anime TV series as well, based around them. and they're probably not that well known, but they were made by a guy called Hideo Kojima, and you've probably heard of him because he's like legendary in the gaming industry. Yup, he made Metal Gear Solid. He's been legendary since PS1 days. And on the PS2, he made this series. They're really cool games. I played them back on PS2 and absolutely loved them. They were some of my favorite games at the time. And when I found out they remade the second game for VR, oof, yes please. If you're into anime games, if you're into mech games, if you like all of the old mech fighting anime, then check this out. It's a dream come true for you. A full story-driven action game that was made and was legendary by a legendary person, now converted to VR. Do I really need to explain it anymore? If you've got a PSVR 1, definitely check this game out. It's a full VR game. Not a game made for VR, not a shorter game, not one with compromises. It's a fully fledged AAA game that was converted to VR. There's not a lot of them around, and it's a really good one. If you love that as much as you should, check it out. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun if you love VR as much as I do. And hey, if you've never played a third-person action game before, or a VR mech fighting game, then you should definitely check this out, especially if you like sci-fi and anime. It's a really good game with a really good story, and I'd even recommend going back and playing the original game, if you can get hold of it on PS2 from somewhere, because they haven't re-released that unfortunately. But hey, if you like this sort of genre, it's a really unique and cool game. Although if you're not into this sort of thing, then there's other games you could get at about the same price, or cheaper as well. So you do have some options, but this is one of the biggest AAA ones around, and is at a really good deal with some amazing inclusions, like VR. If you've got a PSVR 1, you owe it to yourself to check this out. But if not, don't worry, I'll find you some other games to look at instead. And that's all the games I have for the big games, big deals, and games at the £20 PSN sales. What did you think of the games I picked? Did I pick good ones or did I pick bad ones? And what about the star buy? Did it deserve it? Or should some other game have got it instead? Leave all your comments below and we can talk about it later. Anyway, I hope you found some really cool games to play, but I also hope you saved a lot of money. I'll see you guys in the next sale. Au revoir.